Go. Welcome to Vegan Ultra. It's not Thursday night, it's Friday night, but this is Austin Marathon week, so we had to move things around a bit. But it's Vegan Chat with Adam and Sean, your co-inspiration guides. And this week we are so pumped about the Austin Marathon. Now, yesterday I gave you my intro and how this is the first marathon in years that I am trying. But the reason I'm even trying this is because of Sean. So, Sean, tell us, what is your experience with the Austin Marathon and why are you so pumped for Sunday?
I'm so glad you asked. I started with an expertly placed and gentle nudge from a friend. I started going to therapy a couple of years ago, and in therapy, I talked through some of my tendencies toward maybe a version of seasonal depression, and like a tendency to the reason it's seasonal for me is because when the sun goes down, regardless of the season, my brain says, you've done whatever you can do for the day, the rest of the day is over. So up in Minnesota, that's a challenge in the winter, and I got to work past that challenge. And my therapist helped convince me, just by putting it bluntly, saying what I already knew, but like, just strap on a headlamp and put on some warm clothes, and if it's dark after you're done with work, too bad. Go out, go for a walk, go for a run, whatever you're gonna do. And around that time, when I started doing that in the winter of toward the end of 2022, I thought it's time to take my food a little bit more seriously. And instead of thinking that I don't need a meal plan, like these meal services, like gosh, what are they called? Have you used any of them? Like
Oh
Purple
yeah, yeah,
Carrot?
yeah. Like Fresh and Lean, and I think
Fresh and Lean
Factor.
stuff.
They deliver it, and it's like
Yeah,
$8 to $16 a meal.
yeah, stuff like that. So I always was convincing myself that, well, I know what food I like, I know what to make, I can do it easy, I can do it cheaper, but I wasn't actually doing it. So I thought, okay, just better is better, so let's do something better. And then I was listening to one of the many podcasts that I love to listen to, and Rip Esselstyn was talking about his food brand, Plantstrong, and he was talking about making it available, and you could order it. And I was like, oh, Rip Esselstyn, well, he's not gonna make any meal that I can buy that's gonna have anything bad in it. And in the episode, they talked about the difficulty of making a packaged meal that's commercial, that doesn't have additives, because of the way when you can make any recipe that you want, but then once you get in with the supplier has their standards on how they do packaged foods, and it's a challenge. So he was talking about working past that challenge. So I was like, oh man, that's exciting, because his standards are equal to or better than my standards. So I looked it up, the food was available, a bunch of chilies and boxes,
Oh
and
yeah.
all kinds of good stuff.
Oh
So
no, I can vouch. His chilies, his stews, the broths. It's like that was a staple for me when I was first transitioning from junk food vegan to whole food vegan. I could not have done it without Rip Esselstyn and Plantstrong. That stuff, like
yeah,
legit. I remember actually I saw that podcast too. I think it was on Rich Roll, and they were
yeah.
talking about how he started out kind of like with Whole Foods.
Yeah,
And
he
the
was like a
biggest,
brand ambassador. Yeah.
yeah, he was a brand ambassador. And the toughest part was basically kind of like just like the sodium, is because like they use sodium as a preservative, and they got like, well, it's got to last long enough and the shelf life, and so that is it's kind of, now mind you, it's still 70% less sodium than you'll find in your standard soup. So that
Right.
it is some good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I ordered the food. I was so excited about it, and then and it was delicious. I was really proud of it, and I was like, well, this is going to be good for me. So then, right after I ordered the food, I got an email from Plantstrong, and it said, "Hey, join Team Plantstrong, and we're gonna like join our team. You're gonna join us, and we're gonna join you, and we're gonna help you get across your finish line, whatever finish line that may be." And I was feeling so inspired, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Rip Esselstyn, he's awesome," and like I'm getting out even in the winter, and I'm taking care of myself, and I'm helping my mental health, and I'm getting my nutrition in better shape, and yeah, like whatever this team is, I'm all about it. So I looked it up, and they said, well, we're gonna get together for Austin Marathon. And so, like one day I was complaining about the challenges of how my brain holds me back from having good habits. And my therapist is like, just put on a flashlight, go outside, like stop thinking about it so much. And then the next week that I go to therapy, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go to Texas in a few months so that I have to train for this marathon so that I like I have to actually do the thing and like actually get out there, and it's in February, and I figure that if it's in February, I can't be putting it off until it warms up, because that's a mental trick that I would play on myself. And I thought my therapist is gonna be like, okay, I just said go out, go for a walk, like calm down. But no, he was impressed that I was taking it that seriously. And yes, okay. So I joined Team Plant Strong, and I said, sign me up for this race. And I would love to go to Texas in February, and I love going to visit Austin, Texas anyway. So yeah, it was just an incredible boost to my mental health, and I was taking nutrition and exercise so much more seriously than I have been for several years now. And I'm gonna pause right after this. I trained through the winter, and it felt great, and it worked really well, in part because I've been doing barefoot style shoes and barefoot walking and running through the summer, and so I carried that through in the winter, and that's helped me stay injury free, which was a problem when I tried to start running again recently. And then I was really excited to go do the race in person, which I'll talk about that, but I'm going to pause because I've been talking a lot. That's like the next part is when I, go down to Austin and see everybody in person.
Oh man, I can tell you, that those I personally been using the Zero shoes. Although Vivo is another good option. Both of them, by the way, vegan. You wouldn't think that most shoes are not vegan, but no, they do have leather in them. So these ones are good vegan options. And this is you have to start out by, gradually, because your foot mechanics, if you're used to regular shoes with lots of padding, it's completely different. So the idea behind it is that your foot, the arch that we evolved, humans, we evolved to walk 15, 20, 25 miles a day, basically a marathon a day. We did that with the arch, where it's like a suspension bridge. So all the tendons, all the ligaments, it absorbs the shock, and it doesn't send it through your heel, up your spine to your back, like you do when you're running with traditional shoes. But it's like you got to do it gradually. It took me 4 months to get up to doing these kind of distances, 2 marathons a week. But it is a huge total benefit. But now tell us, exciting. So what was your first attempt with Team Plant Strong at Austin? What did you do? And most importantly, what was it like doing it with a whole bunch of awesome Blue Zone vegans?
So the the team aspect is the absolute key. Because when I went there, when I showed up for the race, part of my brain was like, this is just, there's too many people here. Like there's too much going on, and like races are arbitrary. They're like, to human physiology, it's an arbitrary distance. It's just something that we've decided on as a standard. So my brain is like, well, partially, take care of your own health and listen to your body, and maybe don't don't overdo it by like doing these competitive races that people are injuring themselves. And then huge events, like I don't know, like the older I get, the more I'm like small events, community events. Like let's stay away from corporations and like fame and glory, and I think that way when it comes to concerts and stuff too. So part of me was like there's this maybe isn't me. However, uh it was the culmination of the first half of my trip last year, to Austin. Part of my trip is very exciting and welcoming because I have family down there, and I have a family member who I wish I could go visit them all the time. So I got to stay with that person, which I usually do when I go to Austin. And then on, what was it? I was there for 1 or 2 days when Team Plantstrong had their first get together, and it was at Casa de Luz. And I think that was Rip's suggestion. And at Casa de Luz, they have, you don't really choose from a menu item. They make a different, like, 2-3 course ish type of meal per shift. Like, so if you go for dinner, you pay them the dinner charge, and then you take a tray and you bring it up to the serving line, and they serve you what the dinner is. And the food, oh my god, that was one of the best dining experiences I ever had. And that is food that's at that Shanzarn or Rip Esselstyn standard for like deliciousness and nutritious quality without additives. Oh, so great. All right, now I will also say at this dinner that I am as both of us were Minnesota guys, so I'm visiting Austin, and it's a nice warm-up because it's in February. Well, all of the Texas and like southern half of the United States people were like, it's cold. So they had a whole indoor, and it was mobbed. It was just chock full of people. I think it's a popular place anyway, but because of this Team Plantstrong pilgrimage, it was packed to the gills. And by the time I was walking up there, I had walked from the expo. I stopped at the Austin Marathon Expo, and somebody was excited for me to meet Rip because I had, driven all the way from Minnesota. I was among the people that drove furthest to be at the in-person event, and they're like, "Oh, you're one of the Minnesota guys. You got to meet Rip." So I met him at the expo, and then I walked down to Casa de Luz, and he had ridden along with somebody, and right as I was walking up, they were hopping out of the car. And I was like, okay, cool. I get to, like, can I walk in with you guys? I'm gonna be like, I don't know anybody here. A slight amount of intimidation. And they're like, yeah, let's do that. So we're walking up, and Rip is telling me about all the things that are great about this place, and we're walking through the outdoor dining area, and he was like, yeah, if some of these tables are still available, we could sit next to some of these heaters, and it's probably not a bad, it's so romantic with the lights, and the patio is gorgeous. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that'd be awesome. So we go inside, we get our food, every table is chock full. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back outside with my food. I'm gonna find one of those tables by the heater, and I'm gonna sit down. And it was perfect. I love eating outside. It's one of my favorite things. So I sit down, and all the tables were full. So a couple minutes after that, then Rip and his buddy came, and they found me, and they sat down. So I had like a private dinner with Rip Esselstyn because everybody else was inside, and they filled up all the tables. And so like I was the only person, I think, that was outside. So he just came and sat with me. It's like, just got to sit and talk to Rip for like an hour. It's amazing. Super fun. I wasn't really counting on that.
That sounds amazing. So I know in the Austin Marathon, they've got a 5K, half marathon, and full marathon. So what did you do? and generally, can you give us just for anyone interested in trying this, especially the in-person event, what is it like actually, like the day of the race, and what is it like when actually doing it with the team? Is it a team effort, or does everyone just do their own thing?
Okay, yeah, it is. So it's a team presence if you're with Team Plantstrong, and there are certainly so Austin Marathon and maybe others. Again, so this was my first organized race since high school. But they definitely they accommodate teams. The Austin Marathon will encourage you to be a part of a team. So there's probably good team spirit and camaraderie among other teams as well. Now with Team Plantstrong, it's a big team, and it's a good thing. It's not if you show up and join Team Plantstrong, you don't get you're not like lost in a sea of people. They make some shirts so that you can all identify each other. They try to bring you along into the social groups. Like we've got a Facebook group. We try to keep that active. People are talking to each other, encouraging each other, try to get to know people.
There's about 170 people in the Facebook group. So when you were at the event, how many people were there in person?
Let's see. We've got, I would say, over 50. Maybe over 100. I'm just spitballing. I could certainly look up the numbers from last year because it's registered. But I was excited to see how many people there were, and I'll tell you that anybody that was on the team, if you showed up wearing your Plantstrong shirt and walked up to somebody else wearing a Plantstrong shirt, they were going to embrace you and make you part of the gang. And there were enough people that it's not like there's 20 people and you're the one person who doesn't know anybody, so you have to try to figure out how to fit in with the 20. No, there's dozens and dozens of people. And so you see somebody and you go talk to them, and you're probably going to click. And if you don't, you drift into the next group. And I wanted to go out of my way to meet the coach. We have a coach, Carrie, and oh, she's so inspiring and she's such a delight. And I was so excited to meet her when I went in person. And I said, hey, do you know if so-and-so is here? There were 2 other people from Minnesota that I was expecting to be at the event. And I met one of them at that first night at the dinner. And man, we just clicked, and we are lifelong friends. And we've been in touch every week since we met. We hung out all weekend. When we were there, when he was still in town, I stayed longer. And so I showed up to the race then, after I met these people the first time. Showed up to the race early in the morning. It's early for me because I'm a late night guy. And I did the 5K. So if I have to prepare myself for a half marathon or a full marathon and it's a morning race, that's going to be a different story, because you got to really have your food and your hydration worked out, and preparing for morning stuff, man, I don't know. That's generally not me. I'd rather
it's 7. It starts at 7. At least the marathon does.
Yeah. So the 5K starts at a similar time. I can't remember what time exactly, but it's early. And then I had to drive in from when I visit Austin. This family member that I stay with is outside of Austin, so I had to drive to get in. It wasn't actually terrible to find parking. And then, I had instructions on how to find the event from Austin Marathon. I had separate instructions from Team Plantstrong on where they're located in the mess of things. And so I walked toward the marathon starting point. Lots and lots of people. It was mobbed. I've seen lots of people for the Grandma's Marathon in Duluth, and there are definitely more people for the Austin Marathon. So it was big. There's people everywhere. There's also space. There's enough space to get around. So being part of the team was so great. It took away some of the intimidation factor. I didn't have to be like, in this mob of people, who do I find and who do I ask? Where do I go and what do I do? No problem. I just had to find Team Plantstrong people. And if I found one of them, and there were dozens of them wearing shirts that were identifiable, I could find the people that I already knew personally if they were around. So I found my people, and they said, yep, go over here, put this bib on, here's the starting point. You might want to warm up a little bit. We took group pictures. It was super fun. And then the 5K was a down and back race. And then once we made it back, the Team Plantstrong had a table at the I don't even know what you call it, but it's like it's like a festival, I guess. There's tables and tents and whatnot all spread about. So there was a Team Plantstrong table. So I went, and people were Team Plantstrong people in specific were kind of drifting around there. I met a couple of other people.
Is this kind of like a celebratory dinner they hold after the race is over?
I think there might be one this year. Last year, what we did was play it by ear, and we ended up picking a food truck the day after. So last year, it's a little bit loose. It kind of is going to move with the spirit of who has showed up and what are they talking about doing that night. So I was really excited to go drinking because I had a dry January, and I thought, I'm just going to run it all the way to the race because I don't need to be drinking alcohol when I'm getting ready for this race. And so after over a month and a half of no drinks, I was like, I could really use an old-fashioned. And I was talking to other people, and there were a couple other people on the team that were like, yo, me too. So we were going to go out drinking that night, and then they didn't want to, and some of them got busy. Some of the stewards of Team Plantstrong, they're all doing this team on a voluntary basis, and they're all stewards based on the fact that they have full-time jobs for the company Plantstrong. So they do tend to be a bit busy during this race weekend, because they're coordinating the team. They're running their own race. They're organizing the dinners and lunches and get-togethers. They're coordinating the t-shirts and the gear. And so you want their attention. You want to be celebrating with them, but they are busy. They've got a company to run among all of this chaos. And last year there was a concert, and a bunch of the people were going to that concert. I think it was the night of the marathon, or it was the day after. I don't remember. So this year they've got a few get-togethers scheduled specifically for the team. So most of my after-race socializing was around the Plantstrong table. So they were manning the table. They were offering samples of Plantstrong foods to just anybody coming by, and then racers, as they were finishing with their race, were coming by. So we were all intermingling, and we're talking about our race results, and finding out about each other's interests. And that team experience, I don't know how competitive I am with the idea of racing anymore, that I would have been so excited to sign up for another race, except for that team experience. Man, it is so inspiring. It's so much fun. I wish I could be down in Austin this year. Life said other things, but I'll get back there next year. But then we could do it virtually, and that opens it up to even more people. So you and I get to do it virtually, and yeah, I don't know. I ask me more questions. I can't say enough good things about like
Well,
the team
yeah,
experience.
I mean, it's getting late, and we should probably start wrapping it up. But man,
Okay.
what? Well, one, how? What was your time for the 5K? Just out of curiosity, because people will want to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it was like I just looked at this yesterday because yesterday was my first time since then running and recording a 5K. 'Cause I don't usually run that much. Um, I was gonna keep running. I'm gonna get the time. I'm just pulling it up here. Um, I was I was gonna keep running, but then we ended up taking care of a dog, and then we needed to keep that dog, and this is a big and fast dog, so she has not been easy to run with. But now that we're used to each other and we've been walking, like we walk about 1 to 5 miles a day over usually about 2 walks per day. And a couple months ago, she like yeah, she'll run anytime that I'm willing to. So she's like, wanting to run, and I'm like, I feel like running. And I ran with her and it went really well. So I'm excited to start running again. And maybe build up from 5K like we talked about earlier. But yesterday, because my Strava, I'm checking my Strava, that's where I have these saved. It says that yesterday I ran a 5K in uh 37 minutes and 29 seconds. And it says that was my second best time. My first best was at the Austin Marathon. So my time was 35 minutes and 2 seconds. And that was about it's a jogging pace interspersed with walking because I was not running a straight 5K at that time. So my hope this year, and I almost ran a straight 5K last night. Um, so I think I have enough time. I'm gonna shoot for the 5K on Sunday. And now, but I have a whole until, since I'm doing it virtually, I have all the way until March to make other attempts to see if, like, goal is to run the full thing and see what the time comes out. And if I do that, I think it should come out at less than my time from last year, since last year was running and walking.
Well, that sounds amazing. Just having a goal and be realistic. I mean, you've set yourself up for success because, like you said, even just something like if you can just jog the entire time, you're still probably going to beat it. I mean, just jogging, generally people can do around 30 minutes. And so
Okay.
that's the thing, man. It's like it sounds. I'm excited to see to talk to you later in the week, see how you're doing, and I will be, just as I promised, I will be doing kind of a live blog thing, recording several of these videos, not necessarily for the sake of time, several videos, but just kind of like, how things are going throughout, so you can see me. My goal, I've never done 26.2 miles in one day, get it done, and with this 11 and a half pounds, and then, just experience the joys of being active, setting a goal, and just seeing what you can do. Sounds like you have the same, and like you, oh man, I want to get down to Austin. I want to freaking meet Rip. I want to meet the team. I mean, my God, just the food, man, the food you're talking about, man.
Oh,
Whole food, plant-based, it's just like, my God, if you haven't tried it, you haven't lived. Thank you so much for joining us for Vegan Chat. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video to help other people find it on YouTube, and consider trying a Blue Zone vegan lifestyle. It's helped me lose over 100 pounds in 6 months. It's turned Sean into the happiest, healthiest version of himself for a decade, and it can turn anybody into the Captain America version of yourself if you give it a chance, and are powered by plants.